MoistCritical, Penguin Z0, Charlie, the man of many names, no matter what you call him, has decided to flee his multiple podcasts because he made the mistake of saying something incredibly stupid about trans ideology on the internet. And boy, has the internet turned against him so fast. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and yes, I'm sure you guys have all heard the news by now. However, I'm going to come at you with a little bit of a different take because I feel like maybe there's a teachable moment in here. Because if you want to look at this, I get it. We talk about this stuff all the time. We're all about the knowledge of the DEI, what goes down in Hollywood, what goes down in video games, how it's affecting children, how it's being injected into every facet of normal, everyday family television. However, if you're only consuming media from a relatively left-leaning bias that, as someone who is non-political, don't even realize it has a bias, I can actually kind of see why Charlie would say the things he did. And we gotta correct this now and show, hey, there's some research that ought to be done. I also want to make a case in point that he is not just running away from his podcast. I should say that's all he's running away from is the podcast. His normal solo content is going to be resuming as normal. So it's not as if the dude is just bouncing from the internet after getting absolutely smoked. By the way, smoked by people on X and smoked by his viewers. I'm not going to say smoked by Sneeko because there was really no winners in that debate. You gotta remember, while what Charlie said was absolutely ridiculous and insane, on the other hand, you had Sneeko arguing for literal pedophilia, so, again, no real winners in this scenario. However, yeah, it is important to note that for those that are talking about how he's just, ghosting the internet because he got so demolished, no, he's just ghosting his podcast, which I do think is actually probably a good call, because he does this with multiple other people that are his friends, other content creators, other co-hosts. They really don't gotta be catching the smoke for his idiocy, and if that's the reason he is stepping away, I gotta commend him for that, because he knows that the podcast will just be slammed and inundated with comments about what a loser he is, what a moron he is, and if that's gonna tank the morale of the show, tank the vibe of the show, yeah, him stepping back, probably actually a good call. However, for those of you that might not even know what I'm talking about, well, Sneeko and Charlie decided to have a little debate, and here's the idiocy that came out of, frankly, both their mouths.
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Well, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal
decision.
If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moist says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Oh.
Now, that is very clearly and obviously not a good look, again, for either party. I will say, in Sneeko's defense, I did not think he would actually be smart enough to make himself the underage individual in his scenario, so I guess props to, again, making the other party the pedophile in your hypothetical. Still a very creepy thing to use. However, it is a good juxtaposition to what Charlie was trying to argue. Hold on. You're okay with personal responsibility in one instance, but not in another when it comes to pertaining to children on both sides. Charlie is completely out of his depth, out of his element, and it goes to show he has no idea what the transgender agenda, and I do say agenda because that is the legitimate terminology. That's what we should be saying, what it actually means, what it actually stands for. For example, let's take a look at Seattle Children's Hospital Research Foundation. This is the seattlechildrens.org. Surgical Gender Affirmation Program. What is gender-affirming surgery? Surgery that supports a person's gender identity is called gender. We're not going to go through this whole website, by the way. The point is, this is the actual seattlechildrens.org page on gender-affirming care. What age patients does the program treat? The surgical gender affirmation program treats teens and young adults. We work closely with patients and families to make decisions about surgery age and timing. Patients must be 18 or older by the time of surgery for gender-affirming genital procedures. Now, they say 18 or older for genital procedures, as in working on the downstairs mix-up. For the top surgery, for girls that want to get them titties lobbed off at 15, 16 years old, totally A-okay. This SeattleChildren's.org, this clinic does that. This is completely A-okay. As long as it is not the nether regions, they will operate on minors. For other surgeries, timing depends on many factors like patient stage of puberty and how surgery fits with the rest of their gender-related healthcare. A typical age is older teens. We treat some patients through the age of 26 for gender-affirming surgery, and gender-affirming medical care for patients under the age of 18 requires consent from any parent or guardian that has medical decision-making rights. So yeah, the parent has to sign off on it, but if you've got a therapist out there saying, hey, your kid's gonna, off themselves if you don't agree to this, yeah, most parents are probably going to say that's A-okay because they don't want little Timmy in a gutter. Genital surgeries for other reasons, such as tumors, differences in sex development, DSDs, or fertility preservation, are often through other Seattle Children's programs like the DSD program, urology. So what's special about the experiences at Seattle Children? None of this stuff matters. The fact of the matter is, right here on the website is the second paragraph. They state that they are willing to work with teens, and that really the only thing off limits is the actual nether regions. Anything else, all a go. That should be worrisome, especially when it comes to Charlie's response here. This is his post-debate response about the Sneeko situation, how he misunderstood the question, how what he was saying was misconstrued. I don't think it was misconstrued, Charlie. I do think you, however, have no idea what the world of gender-affirming care is actually like. So let's take a little look-see.
And now I give a perspective on something that immediately gets misconstrued, and I do recognize a lot of it's my fault. I assumed that Sneeko was talking in hyperbole about a 9-year-old getting their dick cut off, because I didn't have the assumption that anyone thought that is how transitioning works.
See, you don't have the assumption that that's how transitioning works. However, there are multiple individuals, many of them in the trans community, or the allies, that do actually think this, and I come with receipts, but we'll wait.
There is, under no circumstances, any legality behind a kid saying, I want to change genders, and then immediately going in and getting their dick cut off. That doesn't happen. I thought he was just talking in hyperbole. Obviously, no one says that's good.
No one says that's good. So what you're saying is no one says that's good. Well, hold on, Charlie. What about this right here? Stop saying trans minors don't have bottom surgery. I was one, and I want 16 to 17-year-olds to know that surgery is an option. They don't have to wait until 18 if they don't want to. Nobody's operating on actual children, but older teens should have the same right to care as adults. Children, 16 to 17 is still a child. You are still a minor. What about this one here? However, I do agree that most cases of bottom surgery should be done at 18, unless there are extreme circumstances and it's up to the doctors and family to decide what's the best course of action. So this person's saying, yeah, usually I shouldn't get bottom surgery. Oh, but there are some circumstances where children should get their cock cut off. What about this one? Honestly, I'm fine with non-medical gender-affirming care like therapy and stuff like that for teens, but straight-up surgery is something that should be at least 16 to 17 up. Surgery should be at 16 to 17 up. Again, that's still a child. At what point did we decide that 16 and 17 was adulthood when the prefrontal cortex isn't even finished developing until you're 25 years old? What about this one right here? Perhaps society could include some sort of gender affirmation counseling from a professional so minors can get help making a decision that isn't based off parental bias. At the end of the day, gender surgery changes lives, and we should be prepared to give out the best support. Again, A-okay with surgery for minors, as long as you've got some sort of, individual with a fancy piece of paper that came from the school that, again, probably gets money and donations from these sort of super PACs or left-leaning organizations, these medical institutions that know that they're going to have customers for life if they start indoctrinating kids with this mentality. But let's see, what else you got to say, Charlie? Because, again, I'm assuming that you just didn't know this existed because you live in a bubble. You assume, hey, most people are okay with whatever the common sense narrative of transgenderism is without actually knowing what the common sense narrative of transgenderism is, because you don't even see the bias that's being portrayed portrayed in the media at all times and just assume anything else is right-wing, insanity, is right-wing crazy make-em-ups, when that's not the case. But let's let him finish.
That's not at all what I was fucking saying. I thought he was talking about the overall point of a child transitioning, which is years-long process. And you can't even get that fucking surgery legally until you are 18.
Oh, you can't get the surgery until you're 18. Well, that's interesting. So what about this right here? This from USA Today in 2023, so just a year ago. Gender-affirming surgeries were most popular with young adults. More than 25,000 people ages 19 to 30 received these procedures. Fewer than 8% of patients, a total of 3,678, were 12 to 18-year-olds. A group scrutinized by lawmakers pursuing restrictions mainly in conservative states. I'm just saying that 3,678 12 to 18-year-olds confirmed getting surgeries. And again, this isn't some crazy right-wing outlet. This is USA Today. More people are getting gender-affirming care under attack in many states. Few are kids. Fewer kids? Again, one is too many to have their titties or cut off. But you actually have a documented 3,678, and that is assuming that we're being honest about being that low. That is also without including any 2024 numbers, because again, this article is from August 23rd of last year. So who knows what the number is up to throughout the course of 2024. So when you try and say that's not happening, it's confirmed happening. Again, this is USA Today. We know where their bias is as well, but all right, what about this right here from PolitiFact? Let's see. This procedure is mostly offered to teenagers 15 and older, the New York Times reported. However, we have found one report of a 14-year-old who obtained the procedure, and there isn't a consensus on a specific age requirement among medical guidelines. This is in regards to transition-related surgery limited to teens, not young kids. Even then, it's rare. 14 and 15 are still young kids, and by the way, this is August of 2022, so 2 years ago. So where are you coming out with this nonsense that it doesn't happen? You just straight up don't know. You're blindsided to it. You're ignoring it because you know bringing this sort of thing up, because this is a very contentious subject, will alienate your audience one way or the other. So it's something you've decided to avoid and not actually do the bare minimum of research into, because you don't want to lose out on them sweet view counts.
Like, I didn't think that was a literal statement he was making.
And that's yes, it was a literal statement because it actually happens, my guy.
I did not, and I guess I should have assumed that he was being literal, and that's on me. But I'm sure you can point to like fringe examples of like some evil doctors performing it on like kids or something. I'm sure that happens. There's corrupt.
See, I'm glad he acknowledges that there are fringe cases of it. That sure happens. The problem is, Charlie, 3,678 cases. It's not fringe at that point. And even if we take the this other one here from what was from PolitiFact that said one was done on a 14-year-old. That's still one fringe one too many, and we should be calling out any and every instance of that happening, and not just being like, oh, corruption exists in every industry. If there's one industry we should really make sure corruption doesn't happen in, it's one that mutilates children.
Corruption and everything. But I wasn't under the assumption that's what we were talking about.
You can see
there's no winning on anything. Sneeko gets away with saying 12 to 15-year-olds can marry adults. I don't think his chat looks anything like the YouTube chat here.
And again, I will say multiple times, he's right here. There was no winning, because Sneeko did not come out with a W like so many people on X are trying to make it out to be. Frankly, the fact that there's so many people saying that is equally as concerning.
Literally, multiple times, reaffirms that he believes 12 to 15-year-olds can legally, morally, and should marry adults. And there is no problems for him. But I said that I think it's okay for a child to transition, to learn about it. It's a process. You don't just go in and immediately get your dick cut off. That's not how it works.
There are multiple cases of that literally being the case. There's a confirmed case. I wish I should have brought this up, but we're too long past now. Of a 14-year-old, or maybe it was a 16-year-old. Either way, literally getting the surgery 2 weeks after the diagnosis. The diagnosis, by the way, was one single counseling session. They had one counseling session. The counselor or therapist or whatnot said, yep, you're transgender. 2 weeks later, titties were gone. It does happen like that, Charlie. You just don't realize that because that's not what the media tells you.
There's therapy, there's other professionals that get involved way years before any kind of surgery can even be an option. Because again, you have to be 18 for the fucking surgery in the first place.
Which we've already debunked here. Here's the dealio, guys. Here's my plea to MoistCritical or Charlie or Penguin Z0 or whatever he wants to go by. Because I'm gonna be real, I've liked his content for a long time. I'm a bit of a fan, and I kind of expected a lukewarm take like this from him just because he does come off as the most milquetoast centrist individual on the internet. That's what happens when you got literal millions of viewers and subscribers, is you gotta start placating to a base. But I really don't think it's him trying to just pass off centristic moral values because he doesn't want to upset anybody. I truly think he doesn't know. And why would he? Most people don't know about this stuff because if you even try to learn about it, if you even try and talk about it, you are branded as some crazy right-wing conspiracy nutter. I'm not right-wing in the slightest. Frankly, I'm an anarchist. I think the right wing is almost as dumb as the left wing. The left wing, they get a few more points for being just a bit dumber and a bit crazier. But at the end of the day, I think they're both pretty damn retarded. However, because I'm anti-trans surgery, yeah, I'm lumped in with a bunch of right-wingers. And the fact of the matter is, Charlie doesn't know because since he does not have this sort of a channel, a politically oriented channel, or even a culture oriented channel, he doesn't follow these sort of trends, and just whatever the news says, he'll probably happily agree with, or at least assume is some sort of truth. I doubt that he goes into any sort of digging to try and find what is true, what isn't true, and really where the truth is somewhere in the middle from either side of the aisle. Not on a topic like this, at least, which is one of the most divisive topics in the world right now. So yeah, Charlie, if you see this, I highly doubt you will, but really this could be for anybody watching. Maybe when you're going to talk about something like this, don't go with the mainstream narrative, because the mainstream narrative is where the money is, and if you follow the money, then odds are you're going to find the truth. And the truth here is that it is quite literally an agenda from Big Pharma, who is trying to get these kids to change their mentality and change their bodies early on in life so they can have customers for life. You want to know why we don't have a cure to cancer? Frankly, I'd be willing to bet we probably do somewhere out there in the ether, but there's, even Family Guy has made the joke, there's more money to be made treating something than curing it. Ever wonder why all these individuals that are transing themselves, 90% of them are autistic? Yeah, there's correlations all over the place, but you don't look into it because you accept the surface level facts that nobody should be accepting. And I think I'm going to leave it there because it's been an incredibly long video. But these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Is a lot of times, with a political twist like this, but not always. Usually about things like anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course get involved in the discourse with over 80 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity of thought. With the exceptions of if you think kids can cut their cocks off. We do draw the line there. But if that sounds interesting to you, join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.